This year we are here for the same back to the land call.
I've already extended the farm. And then at the same time, what I have to do, I can't try to keep about 400 or 500 people on one farm. So I've decided to separate the farm this year. And then the refugees has to get their farm, and the postdoc workers have their own farm. But it's the same farm. It's the same person on the farms. All the harvest is going to the same person.
The Dobong Back to the Land response started in 2010 by the Gambia Ports Authority and has the aim of supporting President Jammeh's development initiatives. Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
Well, you can also follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website, which is at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio live. Well, that takes us to our very first break. The news continues in just a moment.
Words of inspiration.
I really want to go back home and try to follow my dad's footsteps.
Events that shape our perspectives.
I always say this: Gambia will never stop having peace.
Translating dreams into reality.
The rights and opportunities of all women and girls deserve our attention and our support.
On Weekend Spectrum, we try to follow spectrum of stories focusing on human interest angle and make you wonder what's next.
Well, 8 books, that's a huge collection.
Every weekend at this time on GRTS.
Welcome back. Turnout in Senegal's legislative polls has been drastically low according to observers. The ruling coalition led by President Macky Sall, local media say, is headed for a sweeping victory. Authorities put the turnout at a lowly 37%, a far cry from the huge turnout in March's presidential polls. We have more in this report.
Newspapers in Senegal leave no doubt that President Macky Sall's presidential coalition is most likely headed for a sweeping victory in legislative elections which took place on Sunday. Figures compiled by local media showed Sall's coalition, called United for One Hope, had won 100 out of the 150 seats up for grabs. This victory does not come as a surprise because Senegalese seem to want to help their new president to govern correctly.
The Senegalese wanted to be coherent. They elected their president, then they wanted to give him a majority in parliament so he could rule better. The 4 biggest political parties in the country belong to the president's coalition, so they are united. That's why he got the majority.
A majority win by Sall's coalition is crucial to him to be able to carry out the policies of his new government. There was a low turnout for the legislative elections on Sunday, 3 months after Macky Sall won the presidency. Initial figures showed participation Sunday was only around 37%.
We must ask if this kind of mixed election, a proportional majority one, is the best one. Does it mobilize enough people? We must all question the attitude of the Senegalese. Why did they act this way?
Sall inherited a National Assembly filled with lawmakers from the former ruling party. Sunday's election is set to put more women than ever in Parliament, thanks to a 2010 law that requires gender equality on party lists. Official election results are expected on Monday.
Malians are outraged by the demolition of the world-famous Timbuktu shrines by radical Islamist group the Ansarudeen. Pickaxe-wielding hardline militants pulled down centuries-old shrines, destroying everything that once stood as the few Great World Heritage sites in the West African country. The militants remain defiant, calling the reverence of shrines un-Islamic. Let's look at this report for more on that rather disturbing development.
A few blows with a pickaxe and centuries of history disappear. 7 out of the 16 mausoleums in Timbuktu in northern Mali were destroyed over the weekend by the hardlined Islamist group Ansarudeen. This Islamist group that took control of Timbuktu and the rest of northern Mali 3 months ago considered the shrines to be un-Islamic in their very strict interpretation of the religion.
The height of these mausoleums is more than it should be. This is not right. That is why we are destroying them. People risk worshipping something that is prohibited, that goes against our religion.
Malians have been forced to sit by and watch the destruction of these shrines, unable to stop the armed men. On Thursday, the United Nations Cultural Agency, UNESCO, put Timbuktu on its list of endangered World Heritage Sites. Following the announcement, Ansardine began demolishing the shrines. Ansardine is also smashing up mosque, and the sacred door of the Sidi Yayi Mosque has been destroyed. The destruction is particularly painful for the people of the Manding ethnic group. These people built the powerful Mali Empire, and Timbuktu was its religious city.
We can only get angry at the slow reaction by Africans. I'm thinking about ECOWAS. I'm thinking about the African Union. I don't agree that Western countries should come here and protect our culture as we sit and watch. Everyone must stand up now and fight against what's happening in northern Mali.
Other treasures in Timbuktu are also in danger, including tens of thousands of ancient manuscripts. Mali and UNESCO are calling on the international community for help in stopping the destruction, but so far to no avail.
From Mali, we shift our attention to the weather report courtesy of the National Central Focus Office. Well, we seem to be unable to bring you the weather, but before we go, a reminder of our top stories. President Jammeh has returned to Banjul excuse me, after a 4-day state visit to the Republic of China, Taiwan, qualifying the trip as a major success. Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Aisotunjai Saidi, today held talks with a U.S.-based Gambian pre-med student on a study tour. Anger is sweeping across Mali and beyond after pickaxe-wielding hardline Islamists pulled down centuries-old shrines in Timbuktu. And Senegal's ruling coalition is heading for a decisive victory in legislative elections, but analysts are worrying over the low turnout of voters. Well, you can also follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website, which is at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. Well, that brings us to the end of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and have a wonderful night.
Mama J dimanche bu nekk ci GRTS ci juróom-ñaari waxtu yee genn wàll ci ngoon ba ci juróom-ñetti waxtu yi jamono ji programme bu xew te ànd ak jamono. Lewaatu programme yu bore la buñ leen di isil alxamis bu nekk ci GRTS dama ne ànd leen nag Linguère GRTS mu isil leen làmba yi nga xam ne moom ngeen soxla dina fekki nag borekat yi ci seen tàggatukaay yaram yi waaye tamit dina waxtaan ak ñi nga xam ne ñoo xam làmbi démba ak làmbi tey programme bi nag ni leen ko isil alxamis bu nekk ci juróom-ñetti waxtu yi genn wàll ci ngoon bi ci juróom-ñetti ni pour be jàppale ki nga xam ne mooy ndugi won yoo bi gal na ko daaneel na ko ndaw Linguère xaritu mbir yi yaa daan maa daan moo daan coow li bëri na xarale yu bees dekkil cosaan le waa dongo
another edition of your favorite show, Fila. Last episode, we showed you guys what happened at the Fila anniversary in Jakarlo. And